Hello everyone, my name is Brendan Snyder. Thank you for joining me and welcome to Best Albums by Year 1971. So this is going to be a series where we're going to look back at the best 50 albums from the last 50 years. This one in particular starting in 1971. But before we get into all that, if you are new to my channel and you haven't already hit the subscribe button, please click the button. Also leave a comment, hit like, all those things will help support my channel. I would greatly appreciate it. And of course, as an added bonus, by subscribing, you'll be able to stay up to date on all that's going on in the world of music, just like this with Best Albums by Year 1971. All right, and so in full disclosure here, I wasn't born until 1976, so obviously I'm coming at this from after the fact, and I'm sure you guys will have different opinions, those of you that grew up in 1971 and so forth, but I still love these albums all the same. And a little bit of history for those that weren't there, and just to kind of set the context and mood, Richard Nixon was president. Intel released the world's first microprocessor that year. The New York Times published the Pentagon Papers. If you're not familiar with what those are, it was revealing America's involvement in the Vietnam War and detailing that the fact that the U.S. actually knew we couldn't win the Vietnam War back in '68, but they just kept sending more troops. The publishing of these papers actually helped bring an end to the Vietnam War. And if you're interested in that, you want to know more about it, you can watch the 2017 film The Post, which stars Tom Hanks, and really great insight into all that. Same year, 1971, 26th Amendment was passed, lowering the voting age to 18. Walt Disney World opens its theme park in Florida. And NASA launched Apollo 14 with Alan Shepard, who was the first American to go into space, and sent him to the moon. So a lot going on that year, an amazing year in and of itself. And I've got some runners-up albums, the ones that I love these all the same. Not the one that I selected here, but I looked at a lot of different ones from this year. The Doors, LA Woman, fantastic album. One of my favorites, definitely from The Doors. Last one to feature Jim Morrison. The band would go on and do a couple more albums without him. But that album there is outstanding. It's a classic. No slight to that, no slight to any of these. It's just the albums I chose not to go with. Now this one here is probably going to disrupt a bunch of you, but Led Zeppelin 4, obviously an amazing album. Stairway to Heaven, I know that's iconic, but for me at least, this album is a bit worn out, obviously. I don't listen to it a lot. Maybe if I grew up with it, I would feel different about it. There's other Zeppelin albums I like better than that one. Part of this Best Albums by Year is I'm not going to repeat any bands. The band will only be once on the 50 list. So I've chosen not to go with Zeppelin on what might have been considered to be their most iconic album. I've gone with a different route. Anyway, next up, one that is a runner-up here, Yes and Fragile. Arguably the album that established the band. Roundabout, and just so many other good tracks that are on that one. But again, other albums that I'm going to stick to with that. Another one here, The Who. Who's next? So, I mean, you can see this was an amazing year in music. 1971, my favorite Who album, but it didn't win out. The final runner-up here of these five being the Rolling Stones' Sticky Fingers. A lot of great tracks on this, and I know it's a big album for them. It's not my favorite album. I usually look at things about how consistent albums are start to finish, whether I play them all the way through, like the deep cuts, that sort of stuff, which leads me to what I think is the best album of 1971, and it goes to maybe an unlikely choice, Deep Purple, Fireball, 1971, and 50th anniversary, so let's celebrate it for that. Fifth studio album from the band. This one here, precursor to Machine Head, and I know a lot of people would pick that in 1972 as being, the best album, and if you're only going to go with one, a lot of people would choose that, but I've always really liked this album. I'm not exactly sure what totally drew me to it, but from start to finish, I do love this one, and it's the Mark II lineup. So you got Ian Gillan, Ritchie Blackmore, John Lord, Ian Pace on this, and Roger Glover. I mean, all amazing musicians in their own right, just starting out, hungry for what they're doing here. The original album itself features 7 tracks on it, but they did add the non-album single track, Strange Kind of Woman, later on, so it eventually has 8 tracks on it. But what I actually like, the tracks that I like are the beginning ones. The first 3 off this are just stellar. It's like boom, 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 you start. And first track up on it is Fireball, and that song begins with the turning on of an air conditioner. And I didn't know that. I actually read that somewhere later on about all of this, but it's such a great rocker. And just that intro, some of the things that they would do in the studios to get sound effects and things, always kind of blew my mind. Next track up, No No No. Just love the groove on that one, great one there, but it's the third track that just pulled me in, and I think a lot of you would agree this is a great Deep Purple track, Demon's Eye. Amazing keyboards by John Lord on it, and the riffing from Ritchie Blackmore on it is just a real big standout track. Always love that one. So like I said, solid album, start to finish, and my favorite of the Mark II lineup as well. Now, the one that I held up here is actually the 1996 remix version of this. You can see it's got the different cover on it. It is a slipcase, so when we pull it out, we do get the original cover that you guys know. I mean, just absolutely beautiful artwork that was done at this time. So when this came out in 1996, that was the 25th anniversary, and here we are 25 more years later. Now, I bought it in 96, so I have been a fan of this album for 25 years. I feel confident in my selection here. 9 bonus tracks on this, all newly remixed, and a 28-page booklet. I'm just going to flip this open, not do a full sort of unboxing, but I do want to show you because it's beautifully done, and if you don't have this version of it, it's really great, densely done with a lot of write-up and information. Very cool photos and stuff. We actually get to some. There we go. And some other, fantastic shots and things that are going on within this. But 28 pages there, not flipping through the whole thing. Just wanted to give you guys a little taste, a little preview of that in case you want to search that one out there. I was hoping for a 50th anniversary of this year, but I haven't seen anything or heard any news. It's unfortunate. But in my opinion, that was a standout album, a best album of 1971. It's the one that I'm going with. I'm sure you guys have your own choices. Let me know. And certainly let me know your thoughts on this one and everything else. Hope you guys have a great day, and I'll certainly talk to you soon. And we'll be back with 1972 next. Take care. Bye-bye.